I just got back from testing my Turbo Beams 886 drift car at the second track day. The first one was at Fuel Fest, which is kind of lower speed stuff. This one was at the Podium Club in Casa Grande. Super high speed track, super grippy asphalt, a lot of fun. But things did not go well. I had made a bunch of changes to the front end and the rear end of the car for more grip and different grip, and I wanted to add self-steer because this has electric power steering. I'm still dialing all that in, and that went really well. The car felt really, really good while I was driving. I noticed the problems when I came back to the pits because I had no idea on track if there were any issues with the car. This whole corner of the engine bay over here was covered in oil because my oil catch can is right there. That catch can is nothing great. It's just an Amazon special cheap oil catch can I just installed so I'd have something, and I didn't want to just push a bunch of oil back to the intake with the added turbo stuff, right? With oil venting out of it, overflowing it, and coating my engine bay in oil made me go, okay, so one of two things is wrong. Either my engine is shot, like the rings are fried, pushing all of the compression gases out into the intake and pushing gas and oil out into that catch can, or my positive crankcase ventilation catch can setup sucks. So today we're going to diagnose what's going on. The tool that I'm going to be using is this guy. This is a cylinder leakage tester, cylinder leak down tester, or just, well, in general, a leak down tester. The way this works is you hook it up to shop air on this side. You dial this in to make sure it's all calibrated, so that way on this dial it's going to be over here in the set section. And then you turn your engine over to top dead center for the cylinder you're going to check, and then you'd measure the leakage. Pretty much what happens is as gas leaks through this, because it's metered, and out the engine in places, it will tell you what percentage is being leaked, okay? So anywhere below, you know, in the green here, so this tool is like 40% below is good. You know, really what I would like to see on a great engine is below 20%. It hooks up pretty much just like a compression tester, if you used a compression tester before. You take out your spark plug, you thread in a little fitting in there, you make sure you're top dead center with your valves closed. I'll show you how to do that. And then you just hook it up and let it go. The neat thing about this gauge set is that if you're leaking compression gases or leaking gases through this, you'll be able to hear it. So if that percentage is high, like 80%, right, you'll hear where those gases are going. If you have noise, hissing coming through the intake, you know, my intake valves are shot. Or if you have noises going through the exhaust, you know your exhaust valves are shot. Or if like you hear noises coming from your dipstick, then you know that your rings are fried. And then the last one is, well, if all of a sudden your cooling system's gurgling, that means that your head gasket is done. To find top dead center, they make a special tool that's got like a little whistle in it, so you could hear as it spins the air moving. I do something a little different just because I'm cheap. This is just a piece of welding wire here. And all that I'm going to do is I'm going to watch that as I spin it over, and you can see, okay, we're going up now, all right? And I don't hear or feel any air escaping, so we're going to go up. We're going to go back down. And then we're going to go back up. I think this is going to be the right stroke. And we're going to go there. There's our top dead center. If you have that cylinder at top dead center and it's 100% leakage, all of your air is leaking out, well, that means that you're 180 degrees out, you got valves hanging open or something. Like, that's a normal thing. So you just spin it over 180 degrees more and then do it again. That's why the whistle is nice, because it actually whistles as air escapes, and I just don't have that tool. So this is, you know, takes us a couple extra seconds to do it this way. One of the things that I did learn when doing a leak down test on a beams is make sure to put it in gear, put your parking brake engaged, and chalk your wheels. I'm just using some jack stands there. Because the engine will spin over, hence the cuts on my hand was me trying to hold the crank from spinning with a ratchet or a breaker bar, and that was a bad idea. All right, let's go ahead and hook it up. We're going to check one cylinder, and then we'll move on to all the others. So here we're going to hook up our shop air. You can see I've already got it pretty well dialed in here. We're at 90-ish PSI. We're into the set zone. We're going to go ahead and dial it up a little bit more. Okay, there, now we're in a pretty good spot right there in the middle. I've already got one spark plug out. Now we just hook this up. And let's take a look at the gauge. That's incredible. That's significantly less than 20% leak down. That is really, really good. So cylinder 1 is good. That is promising, but also nerve-wracking because cylinder 1 is good. Now we're going to see about cylinders 2, 3, and 4. We're just going to fast forward to the results of cylinders 2, 3, and 4. Cylinder 2 is right there at that 20%. So cylinder 2 rings are in worse shape than cylinder 1, but still in the green okay area. Here are my crankcase breather hoses, and I can feel it coming out here pretty good. So that's how I know it is rings. See if you can hear that from my, yeah. Rings on cylinder 2 are a little worse for the wear, but not horrible. Now here we've got cylinder 3. Looks like it is pretty much perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, and there's cylinder number 4. Another like perfect cylinder. That's crazy. I've decided to go back and retest number 2 since that was the lowest. The way the leak down tester works is it's calibrated based on the input pressure of your air compressor. And I thought, you know what, maybe my compressor was a little low. If it's got low pressure, it's gonna cause a false reading. So I decided, let's start all over again with number 2 and see what it does, because I just wanna see if it's really as bad as I thought it was. You know, 20% is, it's okay, but kind of marginal. So let's recheck it. Recalibrated. And now we're at less than 20%. I did have low pressures. We're not as bad as I thought. After sleeping on the leak down test, you know, I decided I should do a compression test also. The leak down test didn't really identify that there was that big of a problem. And really, from my experience, a leak down and a compression test should be done together in tandem to show you like what the problem is. So pretty much like a compression test you do to identify if you have an issue or not. And then a leak down test tells you where that issue is. And this is a great use case to show you why they should be done together, because the leak down test showed like, hey, the engine is okay. Your cylinder 2, yeah, it's not great. And this test can be a little temperamental because if you don't have a compressor high enough capacity, or if there's any little bit of leeway in how the test was done, it might give you some skewed results. Whereas a compression test is just a basic number, and it pumps the cylinders up to a higher pressure than what the leak down tester can. So if you have an issue only losing compression above 100 psi, you're never going to see that on a leak down test, but you will on a compression test. So I did a compression test, and well, the results are not good. Only 120 psi, maybe up to 130 psi on cylinder 2. That's not good. And here we have 160-ish psi on cylinder 1. So yeah, that's better, but still not great. This engine, when I first got it 8 or 9 or 10 years ago, however long ago it was, it made 180 psi across all 4 cylinders. Now I'm making 125, 130 on cylinder 2, the bad cylinder, and 150, 160-ish on cylinder 1. I didn't do 3 and 4, but that's a problem. Like, this isn't good. And there's probably a couple reasons why. For one, this is a tired engine. I've been drifting on this engine for a long, long time. And yeah, so that shows definitely in the compression test results. The leak down test was great for cylinders 1, 3, and 4, but the compression test shows a different story. And I think this is why it's important to do both a compression and a leak down test. That's a pretty good indicator that this engine needs some work. You know, if the engine was warmed up, I'm sure the compression test results would be a little different. If I put a little oil in there, it'd probably be a little different. So there's some ways to kind of skew the results of the compression test as well, but I think this really shows that, yeah, cylinder 2 is at 120, 130 psi, all the other cylinders at 150, 160. There's definitely a problem. Aside from the engine being tired, there's definitely something dumb that I did when I installed all the turbo stuff and the oil catch can, and that is putting this guy in. That's a PCV valve. Putting a PCV valve to a catch can that's vented to atmosphere when a PCV valve needs vacuum to open, that was dumb. Well, let's go back to the leak down test and I'll show you kind of what's happening with like the positive crankcase gases and all that pressure and what's happening with that PCV valve installed. So we do have air coming out this side. That is over here. This right here is the PCV valve, okay? Now if I plug this, like I've got a ton of crankcase pressure, I might not do it now, but, well, what should happen is as I plug that, which is a fresh air vent, which comes from this side, without a vacuum source going to the PCV valve, that is just blocked off. That's this hose right here doing nothing. And everything is ended up going through this hose on the fresh air vent side of the valve cover. I'll be honest, it's not common for like a plugged PCV valve to cause ring lands to crack or break, which is probably what happened here. I probably broke the ring lands or cracked the ring or something like that, and that's why I've got all this excess blow-by. That's why I've got the compression and leak down test results that I do. So I don't know if the PCV being installed, if that alone caused the blow-by problem on cylinder 2. It definitely could be a major contributor to it. If I did crack a ring land, the PCV itself wouldn't be enough to cause that problem, in my opinion. So it's a combination with the engine being tired and probably that. But that also doesn't explain why there's oil coming out, like so much oil coming out and overflowing the catch can. And that's a whole nother thing that I discovered, I think, with the help of another guy from the internet. His name's Rhett. He sent me some information on his turbo beam setup. And we're going to take a look at this engine I have on the stand here to show the problem and then maybe how we could solve that. Here's our PCV, intake side. Here's our fresh air vent. I pulled the fitting out of it to look at some stuff, but we're going to yank this valve cover off. And what we're going to see under this side, the exhaust side, is there are no holes that go through the head down to the block on this side for oil to drain through, right? That's why the back of the engine has this guy. This is the external oil drain line. That's your oil drain. Now, if we look at the intake side, we can see, like, look, right there, that is a drain all the way down to the crankcase, right? We have those throughout this side of the engine where we can drain oil down and we can positive pressure and other stuff can go back and forth on this side. But on this side, it can't. I got to give a huge shout out to my internet friend, Rhett. I'll post to his YouTube channel here because he had this pretty much the same problem. And here's the line of thought on why we're puking oil out this side of the valve cover. So on long, like, right-hand drifts, right? You're going this way, the G-forces are going this side of the engine. There's oil going over here, okay? It's going from this side over to this side, and it just starts to build up, right? Because it's all trying to go out this drain down here. And then on top of that, you've got crankcase pressures, positive pressure going from this side up. It can't come out this side of the valve cover. It has to go over here to get vented out the valve cover. So you've got pressure and oil all going to this side of the valve cover, and it's just filling up with oil over here and pushing oil out through the crankcase vent on that side of the valve cover. The underside of this valve cover does have baffles. It's supposed to prevent oil just from venting out. But with the added pressures, the cylinder pressures and the crankcase pressures from turbocharging, I just don't think it's enough. And so oil and compression gases or combustion gases, positive crankcase ventilation, whatever, is all coming out right here. And there's not enough time or space for the oil and air to separate, causing my issue. Rhett did solve his by adding 2 -10 AN fittings to his valve cover. So that's something I could do. I have a couple of ideas of maybe easier ways that I don't have to do any welding on the valve cover. And we're just going to kind of table that for now. And I'll talk about it in a video later to see if it's going to work or not. But I think that I have a solution that won't require welding. I honestly think that this catch can setup or this positive crankcase ventilation setup is the biggest issue that you have turbocharging your Beams 3S outside of things like dropping a valve from your EGTs being too high, or blowing your ring lands or something because you've got too much boost pressure, or maybe even breaking your rods because the rods and pistons in the beams were not meant for turbo stuff. They're meant for lightweight, high revving, all that stuff. So yeah, there are some base engine issues that your tuner is gonna have to be aware of for turbocharging, making sure EGTs don't get too high, making sure that you're not gonna have too high of cylinder pressures that's gonna damage your pistons and your rods. But really the main thing that you can learn from my stupidity here is don't use a PCV valve when you're not running it to a vacuum source. So if you're doing a vented to atmosphere catch can, remove that thing and have a straight through fitting. And also, don't use a stupid, garbage, cheap Amazon special oil catch can that has horrible baffling. That was another very bad decision on my part. So, yeah, don't do that. I'll be honest, I don't know what I'm going to do here. Yes, I need to sort out my crankcase venting situation with the catch can. That's not great. Remove the PCV valve, put some other stuff in. How I'm going to do that, I'm not sure yet. I have a good idea, but the problem is like, even once I do that, I shouldn't drive this because of my compression and leak down problems. Which is a bummer, because I really wanted to gather more data on how much power a stock Beams 3 SGE can make with a turbo, and I just am unable to do that with this setup currently. I think it's time to park the drift car. I know I've said that 2 or 3 times before, of like, I need to park this and redo a bunch of stuff. I do. I have a new body kit for it. I need to fix my cracked fender. You know, this isn't great. And there's a lot of other stuff the car needs. I should really do some tube work, some chassis work, a lot of different things. And I have a street car that needs some work too. I've got Cream Puff. That's the ITB Beams car. I need to do some idle control stuff on it. I have a CAS 2-way diff to put in it. So I think that it's time to let the drift car sit for a while I refocus on that. But I also have an S13. I don't know if you guys remember, 3 years ago, I bought an S13. And well, look, I have an SR20 to assemble for it. I just haven't done it yet. There's a built engine. He's got a Mazworks rotating assembly, all this stuff. So I need to put that together and drop it in the car. I need to paint that car. So I think I really need to focus on those, make those a priority, and the drift car is just going to be parked for a while. Yeah. So I guess thanks for watching, and see you next time.